Thank you everybody for having me and bringing me up to sort of lovely, sunny, warm Melbourne. Weather's been great. It reminds me of how much I do love Tasmania for the cool climate when I come back to these sort of warmer days as well. So yeah, so it's been good. It's nice to have a bit of a cooler change today as well. Got to go and look at a few sort of nurseries around the place to see what different things are happening around as well, and sort of the interesting stuff that Han's doing, and Quinton's immaculate manicure sort of collection as well. So it's also good to see some exotics in there as well. I thought it was all going to be native, so I was happy to see some of those. And I told him he's got some lovely literati spruces and things, which is going to do really well down in Tasmania. So if it starts to get too hot with climate change up here, I've got a place to sort of take them to as well. Deodar cedars, it's almost been the weekend of the deodar for me. I did a lot of the workshops yesterday and we had quite a few deodars I worked on, and then we've got these sort of ones to play with today. So it's a tree that I sort of deal with a fair bit in Tasmania because it suits that sort of type of cooler climate, but it's also good for the warmer climates as well. Originally I'm from Western Australia. I've been down in Tassie for a bit over 11 years now, so I even grew these sort of quite well in Western Australia where we have the warmer temperatures as well. So that's why the past couple of days didn't knock me around sort of too much, but it did remind me why I left WA and went to Tassie for that cooler climate as well. I'll do a few things a little bit sort of differently. I'll talk a bit of horticulture with you as well. I'm a horticultural teacher in Tassie. I've been in the horticultural industry for nearly sort of 45 years now, and I very much approach the art of bonsai with the horticulture side in mind. I will bring the art into it, but also I'll bring horticulture into it as well. And I can also speak about horticulture for warmer climates because I am from Western Australia for basically most of my life, but also in Tasmania I can deal with the issues of the cooler climates as well. So all you're going to live in different sort of microclimates. So, and microclimate is going to change. You know, the microclimate where I'm standing in now is sort of quite sort of bright because I'm under sort of lights as well. And then it's different to the microclimate where Barry's standing at the moment because he's not in the spotlight. Though he'd like to be on the other side of the camera, but he's not. So it's microclimate is something that can change from a very short distance, from this sort of distance, also from suburb to suburb, from state to state. It's all to do with microclimate and how you deal with your trees, and it all comes down to potting mix as well. But I'll come back into some of that as the evening goes along and the horticulture side. Got three trees that are all sort of relatively sort of similar in the way they are as well. They've all got sort of little sort of faults to them, and they're not sort of easier trees to work on. So I'll show you what you can do is a little bit of difficult stock, which I like to work as well. No point giving me a tree that you can all see, you know what I'm going to do with the tree, because then you're not going to learn anything. I want something that's a little bit, I wonder what he's going to do with that. So that's just why I like the difficult stock. As well, there's people who like bonsai. There's people who sort of like the penjing, which is our sort of Chinese style, and there's people who like a little bit of a combination of both, use a bit of bonsai training, a little bit of penjing, and bring it all together. So with these trees, I'll go one sort of more with the bonsai orientation to it, one with more of a penjing orientation to it, and another one with sort of a bit of a combination of both to it as well. And if I'm sort of getting a little bit tired because these guys are slacking off and not sort of entertaining enough, I'll jump down and sort of do a bit of snipping and cutting and slashing and burning on this one down the bottom here as well to show you just somewhere what I would go through because I got free rein with that.
You're sure about the burning?
Yeah, could do.
Snipping,
yeah.
I think it's a total fire ban. I don't think you're allowed to burn.
I haven't got the sprinklers here. There's one over you, so that's not my problem as well. And you said you need to cool down, a bit warm. So, yeah. So when I get free rein on a tree, so I'll try and do these to some sort of styling methods, just so you can see the difference between sort of penjing and bonsai, and something a bit of a combination of both, which I like to sort of blend with as well. And then something I'd look at it and go, well, this is just what I would do with that tree within the time that's allowed as well. We're not going to repot these trees today. With the styling of the tree is going to be enough for the tree to have and then we'll give them a rest and they'll sort of repot them later on. You do see conventions where they'll style the tree up and repot it straight away, and then my first thing is that poor tree going to survive? It's the horticulture of the tree you've got to do as well. You take it easy. You're not going to go and have a major operation yourself, then go out and run a marathon or a 100-metre sprint. You're going to have a rest and then ease yourself back into it as well. So what we do to these trees today, it is still shocking the tree, so I won't want to do too much to the roots, but I can balance it all up by doing that sort of later on as well. So this is the direction I'm going to go. I'll come up, we'll start with something like this as well. I've had a very sort of quick sort of look at these trees on Monday. Sunday, lose track of time. And sort of got a bit of an idea, and I had another sort of quick look tonight. The first thing I sort of noticed with all the sort of trees, they've got a very sort of straight trunk, then they've all got this zigzag up towards the top as well. With that sort of thing, I think you've got to follow a bit what's happening in nature as well. Look at what's going on in nature and then sort of try and bring it into the tree. So to me, there's really trees and sort of what's happened up here for us to do this sort of zigzagging in the tree, and it's sort of not sort of, it's not a natural sort of look, it's a very sort of man-made sort of look as well. The man-made look to trees to me is more the bonsai sort of styling. It's more, very much more artistic styling. With something like with the penjing, it's a bit more natural sort of looking with the tree and working on an older tree. So with something like this, there's less sort of dramatic styling like this. So you know, I could sort of work with this, and I think this is going to be a better tree to work with because it's less dramatic than what that is. This one down here again, we've got the zigzag movements, but it's a little bit more subtle. So I can show you how we can actually hide the faults in the tree. So we've still got a nicer tree. It's a matter of sort of working with them from there. So this is where I'll just sort of go on with each tree. We'll start with this one. Mark was lucky enough he sort of chose this tree. This is the tree that I feel is going to have the less wiring on that tree. So less wiring, more chopping. Less wiring, but more gins on the tree as well. The first thing I sort of do, I just tap it out of the pot, just so we can actually have an idea, and you can sort of see, you know, there's a fair bit of sort of root sort of structure sort of happening here, but it's very swirly around where it's shown it's probably been in rootstock for a lot of years, and it was in a sort of another nursery pot for a lot of years. So there's not a lot of really sort of fantastic roots sort of happening down here. So it's, you know, I can sort of go through and trim some of these sort of later on to work the root system, but that's sort of work that's going to happen later when the tree sort of gets potted. It's more just so we can see, it's the trunk line of the tree that's important to me. This is a big fault to me on the sort of tree. It's so unnatural as well, so I want to try and do something to blend and hide that as well. So my inclination here is to bring some of these branches down. It's more of a drop branch. So if you know a drop branch where you bring a branch all the way down. This is one I'm going to go sort of more penjing sort of styling on it as well. Penjing to me is a tree that was a bonsai. It was a young tree, being a bonsai, 300 years old. We could try and create that. With penjing, we're going for an older tree. We're going for more of a 500-year-old tree. So the tree was all lush like this, as if it was a 300-year-old tree, but now another 200 years have passed. There's been a few more storms and a few more sort of wildfires and a few more big birds sort of hanging on there. It's gone through climate change and it's come out the other side as well. So it just means there's going to be a lot less sort of foliage on the tree. The structure of the tree is still going to be there, you know. It's like, so we're going to thin the top out, you know. As we sort of go from 300 years old to 500 years, we'll sort of tend to thin a little bit more on top as well. So we're going to thin this tree on top. But also everything starts to hang a little bit more. As we get older, things hang a bit, you know. So this happens with humans, it happens with trees as well, it hangs. So we're going to get this tree to hang a little bit more as well. But we've got to put the age in there. We've got to put that sort of 200 years into it. So by doing that, I add a lot of gins to it. I've never cut a branch off totally and say, there it's gone. I'll cut a branch, shorten it, I'll gin it, style the tree, and then if I don't sort of like the gin, I can take it off then. But at least you're adding age to the tree. If you drive around into your highways and parks and look at the older trees, the older the tree is, the more you see into the tree. In horticultural and arbour work, it's known as lion's tailing. When everything strips off, you've got the outer canopy, but you see the structured tree. There's a lot more deadwood in the trees. There's a lot more hollows into the tree. It shows age. There's a lot more lines into the tree. Hey, we'll get a few more lines as we get older as well. So we're trying to increase the age of this tree by 200 years. So we're going to thin the tree out a little bit as well. So trying to hide, this is the sort of fault within the tree. If I had more time at home, I'd made raffia this and try and stand it up a bit. But these are sort of quite old trees and it's sort of relatively sort of stiff. So we're just going to do it a little bit sort of quicker and a little easier method just by bringing a branch down as a drop branch for the tree and working with the movement we've got. My inclination is this one, it's already on a downward motion. It's on the side of the tree here where I want to hide the tree as well. If I use something on this side as a drop branch, it's just hiding this and it's just creating more of a triangle in this area within here as well. So this is what I want to use as a tree. To create a bit of style with the tree struggling, this is a nice little pad branch down here we're going to use as well. So it's going to be very much literati. Most of these are going to have a very much a literati base to them as well because they're all so tall and very little sort of down the bottom as well. So this is a branch I want to keep for now. So what I want you to do, Mark, to get you started on this tree, I want to keep all my branches on the tree. So all these short stubs in through here, these little things that aren't sort of branches, I want you to trim all those off as well. You can see you've got this little wire mark on here, so that's the branch I want you to work as well. These other branches through here, we're going to just reduce a little bit, just to make sure. Mark just had a cortisone injection in his shoulder today, just so he can come in and wire this tree as well. So I thought, we'll make sure we'll pick the tree that needs the least amount of wiring for him, which is going to be this tree here. So I'll just reduce this down, because the other side of this tree, I want you to do the gins. So this whole branch, everything on this side, all this you can turn in gin for me. All this is a matter of cleaning up these stubs and just leaving all the branches as well. The rest of this stuff, you can leave this as well, except for that one, and we'll come back and deal with that as well. I'll just get moving along to our other tree as well. I'll get that. It can be your rubbish bin. Right. Okay, I think it was Luke that picked this one. Luke was keen to do lots of wiring. So this is where we told him to pick this sort of tree. Again, have a look at our root system. A little bit better root system, not so much curling roots around the base of the tree like this one as well. Penjing, Chinese, more natural. The curling roots are not an issue. We can sort of deal with that and make something creative out of it. Japanese with bonsai, they're a lot more strict on having more rules and more stricter on their guidelines as well. So they want a really nice, even sort of spreading root system. Lots more sort of branching on the tree. So we're going for a 500-year-old tree there. We're going to go for a 300-year-old tree here. So we're going to leave a little bit more on the tree. So hence the more wiring to do. To refine the tree, the more wiring we do, the better. Wiring to us is our paintbrush. We have artist has a paintbrush doing a painting. He's got a little pot sitting there with 20 sort of different sort of brushes in there as well. We have a little wire rack with at least 20 different sizes of wire. So we're going to wire the tree to paint and create this tree as well. So we're going to get down all into our 1mm wiring as well. All things going well with our speed wirer over here. He told me he's really quick at his wiring. So I thought, right, we'll get onto this tree as well. Even with looking at the fronts of the tree, at this stage it's not super important where the front of the tree is. As I just go through and take out things which I think are sort of general sort of faults within the tree, just eliminate crossing branches all of a sudden, we're going to be bar branches as well. The tree will evolve and we'll just sort of see how the tree sort of comes together. We have a nicer sort of a line on this tree sort of coming up to about this point through here. Then it sort of goes dead straight. This is where we can choose probably another line of the tree just to keep a little bit of movement within the tree as well. So some of the up through here could be the apex. I've got three choices. I've got here, I've got this side and this side to go in three different directions with the apex as well. So I'll look at sort of doing that. To me, this part up here, it just starts to get a bit too tall as well and the tree's getting too big. So I don't think I'm going to use this top part as well. But I'll still gin it and see what we can come up with it later and reduce it back as well. Most of this other branching in here is pretty good. With Japanese, it's more pads. We're not dropping them down so much because we're dealing with a younger tree, so we can have flatter pads of foliage, slightly down, or even coming slightly up. These are deodar cedars. If you see them in the bush, not in the bush, mostly we see them in parks around the place. Lots of them in Tasmania. They're all big, long, weeping trees that are coming down with this, very graceful. If you want to be traditionalist with a deodar cedar, grow them like that. By all means, you can grow them like that. But bonsai and penjing is an art. We're allowed to style a tree that is not the natural way it grows. It's okay to do that. Some people are strict, say, no, you've got to stick to the styling a tree the way it's going to grow in nature. If you want to do it, you can. I'm not strict like that. So we are artists here. We can style it to how we want to style the tree as well. I did style one of these up as a traditional style for Patrick, wherever he's floating around somewhere, and we had the lovely graceful weeping branches. Then we did another one for Sally, and Gracie very much more as the traditional bonsai Japanese style. And this is where we're going to go with this one, because it's got lots more branches to work with as well. So, Luke, what I'm wanting you to come in and do is, there's not so much on here. We're going to gin, I'll just get a couple of bits of wire from over here. Right. I'll put this on here. So we're going to gin from above this piece of wire. up through here, just to make things a little bit less for you, because I don't want a gin all that big. I'll just reduce it just a tad for you. There. 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 We haven't got rubbish bins, so some of our bigger branches we can just put back there out of our way so we don't trip over them. Ah, there's a rubbish bin. That'll do. Yep, that'll do. We'll throw them into there. Right, and that, I'll come down to there. That's above it. That's below, because I want to go in that direction as well. That I don't want. So for anyone I leave a little short piece on that, we're going to put the gins into it as well. All those we're going to play with. All that we're going to play with. And we'll leave these because it's not branching on them like we've got this one, so we're going to leave them. I'll move along, then we'll get back and we'll get you to do some wiring on this tree. But if you run through and gin that one first, and gin that one, and then I'll come back and see how we're sort of progressing along as well. Okay? Thank you. Right. This one's one of the sort of tougher ones to work on because it comes up with our straight trunk again, and the zig, zag, zig as well. So this one I'm going to sort of try and sort of combine sort of a few penjing sort of practices, a few bonsai practices, and see what we can come up with as well. Could you just put those down on the floor somewhere so I don't cut them accidentally or throw them into a bin? This one has actually got less of an issue with the root system. It's all really quite sort of cleaned up as well. So we've got 3 totally different sort of root systems that we're playing with as well. Again, really nice old trunk, but just dead sort of straight through into here. If you're someone who likes taking plenty of time with it, you can just go through and cut it through here and start working these down through here as a sort of drop branch as well. That'd work. I want to see if we can sort of try and do something with our zigs and our zags to go with it as well. Again, I don't want to go massively tall on the tree, so we'll reduce the sort of height down of the tree a little bit. Just too much. So I think to start with, I'll just take this one off totally. And I'll put near the bin. As they were cleaning up after the workshop yesterday, I was taking a little bit extra time with Irene's tree, and they'd sweep around me, and I'd throw a bit more rock on the ground. They'd sweep around me and just purposely just throw a bit more rock on the ground. Eventually they were wised up to me, so they stopped sweeping around me. I want to go in that direction, but I want to do a few things as well. There's so many. Okay, there we go. I'll go into this side. I'm just trying to eliminate straight lines. So what we've had with this branch here, it was going straight out here. So, but then I had another bigger branch come off to the side. So there, at least I'm getting some natural movements, natural zigzags all the way through the tree as much as I can to eliminate straight lines. This top one, again, I just want to shorten it down even further. Every time I do a sort of cut, Michael goes, look, less wiring. Yeah, actually do sort of trim as well. There's another one, big long branch here, but then it gets another one that comes off to the side of it. So it's getting natural movement in the tree. I could put that movement into it with wire, but you end up with loops within the tree. If all of a sudden you can go with a natural growth branch of the tree, it's going to give you a much sharper bend than we're ever going to be able to sort of create within the tree as well. Even that, I'll leave that branch for now. We'll leave this one. So there's not much I can do with that either. So I'll just literally come down, take the long part off to where I've got a bit of movement in the tree. And one, it just sort of lets the tree evolve. I can just taking out faults within the tree and see what direction I go. Again, straight out through here. We've got another little branch that comes off to the side. Just give me some movement. So you can almost sort of really sort of start to see we're getting some natural zigzags and movements on all the branches within the tree as well. So actually I'll point it, there we go, through a camera. I've got to remember that's on there as well. So just getting natural zigzagging as we work through with the tree as well. I'm hoping to see, you'll work it all out. We go there. I have a little stick here, so all of a sudden as I'm turning this little tree and I sort of see a front I can work with, I'll put a little marker in there as well. And same with these guys, as they're spinning trees, I'll always have a look out the corner of my eye and look for a front evolving as well. At the moment, it's just thinning it down. That sits nicely through there. Okay. Eliminate. Got 2 branches, well 3 branches here. I see 1, 2, 3. I've got to decide. Can't have them all sitting over the top of each other. in nature you can. Artistically, and what we look with our sort of guidelines, we can't. So I'm looking at the best branches. This one here's pretty crook. It's even not worth sort of doing much with the gin, so I'll just leave short sort of stubs on it as well. I'll look at this branch here. That actually comes up and splits into two, which is what we sort of try to look at with our trees, with some bifurcation, 2 by 2 by 2 as you go through the tree. Whereas this one, it goes into two, but it's sort of, one's really big and dominant as a leader, and the other one's a little bit shorter, so I don't think we're going to do much with that one. I'll cut it through there and take that one off, so I think we'll work on doing something with that as well. Okay, right, Michael, your turn. What I want you to do is anywhere along we've got these branches here, where they come out and actually start to turn into branches, that's where you'll stop. Put all this stuff in through here, all these short bits in here. I want you to clean all those out as well. That's where we work. Now here, this one here, we're going to got short branches here. I'm not worried about it, it's more when we come out towards the end. This is where I want to start working out here. So all this sort of small stuff in here we're going to take off. But if you happen to come across one like that's a little bit thicker, I'm happy to, we'll turn those into gins. I want to put lots of just little hints of gins around as well. Yep. Something like that's a little bit too small, so we'll eliminate that together. Again, clear all this out. Here's my branching out on in here. You go through and clear all that sort of out as well. Done. And you can work from there. Okay? Okay, how are we going? Even with adding the gins to the tree, all of a sudden they're starting to become a bit more interesting. They're just sort of trees weren't doing nothing. All of a sudden now you go, oh, look at that. Oh, there's another one over there. On a tree, you can't have just one gin. You've got to have a number of gins. Yeah, you've got one here, you've got to have another one here, there's got to be somewhere else. It's got to blend in. You can have one shari, which is one strip of deadwood down the tree, because that's just a very big impact point within itself and something's happening there. But just having one gin on a tree like that, it sort of looks, oh, what's happened? Why did that not die? We're trying to create more rays. Try and put a number of different gins into it. I won't say it has to be a minimum of 2 or 3 or 6. It's just more than one. Just put some more interest into the tree as well. And that's what we've got here. We can come back and trim up the gins later on to shape up, depending on how the rest of our tree evolves as well. Okay, that's looking good and through there. So I can take this out of the way now so you haven't ginned down too far. Right, same here with your branching. We've got to trim all the small stuff off. But being this one here, we're going to go a little bit sort of more bonsai sort of orientated. We want to have a bit more lushness to it as well than what these guys are doing. So I just want you to take off, say, about the first 2 centimetres of growth on here. So a branch like this, we'll just nip this first few off from there. And that's about all. We're going to leave a lot more of this on as well. So most of these, they're all pretty good through here, but some of these need to come a little bit shorter as well, just so you can go through and clear it all out in there as well. Straight away, as I'm working on this, I've got that one in there, but that could be handy. I'm sort of starting to see things in this tree. Every time I sort of go back and forth, I'm seeing more and more in the trees as it evolves for me as well. So this over there, I'll just shorten things down where I can, so you're not wiring stuff and we're cutting the wire off and ruining the club's fund of wire that we're just throwing it all in the bin as well. You know, we're sort of better off putting more of that as our drinks at the end of the night for, you know, doing all the helpers there, supplying you guys with free drinks as well. Yeah. Okay. That's it. So you can keep sort of working on that today. Had a good break today too. Actually got on the grass today as well out with Ted, and it's sort of, I mean, we had a roll up. It still doesn't sort of work on the greens, that is, yeah. No sort of grass, don't worry. Yeah, I sort of know what you do for a job. It was different, you know. It had a nice little roll up out there, so it was nice cooler and things as well. I hadn't been out playing bowls for about 10 years, so it was really good just to get out and about and just have a rest, clear my mind from everything. But I learnt a lot of Italian swear words while I was out there today. So that was really unexpected to know as well. You know, these guys are speaking Italian, but you still know what they're sort of saying out there. So weren't sure if they were playing good bowls or bad bowls, but it was just sort of, okay, go with it. Okay, how are we looking over there? That's looking sort of good as well. Yeah, progressing along as well. Potting mixes are a real sort of big issue around the place for people. Some people say, this is the right potting mix to use. No, this is the best potting mix, this is the best potting mix. You buy and make a potting mix that suits you. It suits how much time you've got to water your trees. If you're a person who loves watering trees and you'll stand there every day with a gin and tonic or a cup of Darjeeling tea and waters trees and water trees and water trees, that's fine. You can have a potting mix that doesn't hold much moisture because you've got plenty of time to water your trees, like they do at the Arboretum. They've got people there all day, so they can have a potting mix that basically holds, very sort of little, a bonsai mix holds. Doesn't hold a lot of water because they've got people there to water the trees. If you're someone that hasn't got a lot of time to water your trees, they're on an automatic irrigation sort of system, that's fine. You can set that to come on every day, but you're not out there sort of watering your trees much. But you still go around and check your sprinklers every day. But you're not checking them if they're blocked, you're just looking for dry spots on the benches as well. I have my trees set up on a sprinkler system because I don't have that time to go and hand water trees or the inclination. Some people say they've got lots of trees, but they'll still hand water the trees. It's not my thing, hand watering trees. I've got other things I want to do as well, but I still check my trees for watering every day. So my sort of bonsai potty mix, it drains relatively well, but still holds a little bit of extra moisture. The potting mix I make up for students or for trees I know I'm selling to the public. I don't sell a lot of trees, but I still sell a few to the public. I do more to teach people. I have a potting mix that holds more moisture because beginners are sort of a little bit sort of worried about how much water and what's the biggest thing that kills trees is bonsai trees that I'm drying out. So I adapt the potting mix so it holds more moisture again as well. Whether you want more of an organic mix, but have the mixture that suits you and suits your budget. You can buy Akadama from overseas or pumice stone from South Australia, wherever you want to get it from, and it's going to cost you a fortune as well if you want to afford that. But not everyone can
You're blowing away the feathers.
Oh, right. I thought it was just my little fan club. They were blowing kisses at me. It went to the feather, was it? Val. Oh, right. That was lucky then. Yeah. My wife may see this later. You're blowing kisses at you. But the potting mix, I sort of like to use what's local as well. You go to your landscape supplier, find out what sort of nice grit and stone that they've got there, and that's what you can make your sort of potting mix out of, or whoever makes it up for you. Don't blow your budget on your potting mix. Have a good potting mix, but have something that's going to suit the time you want to put in the trees and how much you can afford to put on your trees as well. If you can't afford to buy your Akadama and your pumice stone as well, buy a potting mix that suits. But very much sort of adapt it. The potting mix is the health of all your trees. Get a good potting mix and your trees are going to be sort of healthy as well. Fertiliser we'll sort of cover in a minute, but don't be sworn by someone and say, this is the best potting mix, use this potting mix. Find out what suits you and your budget and your climate and go with it from there. Okay. As good as it's going to get. Yeah, it's as good as it's going to get. That's great. Yeah. Well, not as good. Yes, we'll improve from here on. Okay. I've sort of got a couple of, as I'm looking at it, I'm sort of seeing this sort of line up through here, but I still want to go bigger as well. Okay, yeah, we've got to go bigger. So we'll go, again, here's a branching that naturally comes out this direction as well. So no point going for a branch here that just goes straight up and say, oh, this is the one I'll bend that way, when we've got one underneath it that bends. So straight away say, I want a branch over here. This one's naturally going in that direction, so that's the one we use as well. The straight up, it's not going to make it a very nice gin, so we'll eliminate it. But the branches that's still going in the same direction still can make us a nice little gin. So we're going to gin that one down in here. This is sort of coming out nicely. Again, here's a branch that's got a nice little bit of a natural flow out. This one's growing into the tree. It's not what we want. Eliminate it, turn it into a little gin. So we're starting to create a few more gins within the tree as well. Same with this one up here. I did wire up here, but I'm going to sort of bring it a little bit further down on it as well. We're going to turn that into a gin, but we're going to go just a little bit smaller gin as well. Got a nice little branch in there that could do something for us, but I don't know if it's going to go that direction or this direction as well. And we've got a third option of going that direction, so I'll leave that one in there as well. So we're going to gin these things, then you're going to start your wiring. I'm not going to wire the trunk as well. I think the trunk's fixed as it is, and sort of people will sort of have a tree like this, they get so worried. We can put bends in this if we want, but it's major advanced stuff to do, advanced sort of wiring. I'd rather sort of show you, back it off a little bit and show you what we can do with sort of a little bit less wiring. So we'll just work with the line that we've got within the trunk. We may change the angle slightly as the tree progresses along, but I'm just going to leave the trunk as well. A gin, and then wiring all these branches here. We're going to wire them big enough wire so we can get it's pretty sort of flexible. I'm not sure with the wiring. I'll just take that one will do. Get a start with the wiring. Don't cut wire with your scissors. I can with these because these are special scissors that are designed for cutting wiring aluminium wire up to sort of around about 4mm as well. So that's why I'm sort of doing it. But I see get there, I'm doing it with my students, and all of a sudden they start picking up my club scissors and theirs and start cutting. No, don't do that. Special scissors for cutting wire as well. Just make sure if you don't know, test what size wire to bend the branch. Just grab a wire with around about sort of 3 or 4 centimetre length, push on the branch. If the branch bends and the wire doesn't, it's going to do it. It's going to bend that branch, but then you might want to find it can go a little bit smaller. If I put it on this branch here, push it and the wire bends, it means it's not going to bend that branch as well. So it's a little technique down. So that one may bend it, but then you say, oh, I might sort of drop down because that looks like around about 4mm wire. Might go down to 3mm and see if that works as well. And that's, if it's just starting to bend the wire, it's still going to bend the branch. But if it's just to push on it straight away and that just bends, it's not going to do the job as well. We've got some bar branching happening in here, but I'm still not sure which ones of these we're going to work with, so I'm still going to get you to wire all these. Whether you want to wire 2 branches or at the same time, you can, but I wouldn't wire these all at the same time because you want to get some down. I'd sort of wire that one, then you'd maybe come up and wire this one and come up high out there. Take this one, because you at least got to go around the trunk 2 or 3 times, still at your 45-degree angle, so it all sort of grabs as well. So if you wire a branch, skip a branch, then go out another branch. Or wire a branch, skip 2 branches, then go out and wire the other branches as well, because we've got 3 in the area as well. So you can sort of progress through ginning and doing some wiring on that as well. Okay? You ever get sort of stuck on something? Just sort of give me a hoy and we'll sort of work through with it as well. Yep. Mark's still doing lots of gins. You can see penjing sort of down there, lots of gins coming into it as well. Okay.